I'm Jane Nickel, President of the Park Forest Historical Society. Welcome to the YouTube presentation of the Park Forest Hall of Fame Induction for 2022. The Park Forest Hall of Fame Induction has been virtual since 2020, launched on our YouTube channel. Several past programs can also be found there. The Hall of Fame began in 1989, then became an annual event in 1994. Through 2019, this was always a public program at Freedom Hall, and we look forward to being able to return to that soon. All members of the Hall of Fame are listed along with their accomplishments on the Society's website at www.parkforesthistory.org/Hall of Fame. The 2022 inductees will be up soon. Their names are also listed on plaques currently on display at the 1950s Park Forest House Museum at 227 Money Road in Park Forest, and programs with the accomplishments of all of the Hall of Fame are in the local history file cabinets in the museum as well. We hope the plaques will come back to be hung in Village Hall again so that they can be seen on a daily basis by the public. The Society operates the 1950s Park Forest House Museum and the Park Forest Local History Collection and Archive, and offers about 5 programs per year on park forest or related history topics. These programs for the past 2 years have also been almost all on our YouTube channel. The Museum and Archive Office are in St. Mary's Catholic Church at 227 Money Road. I try to be in the archive on Fridays from 10 to 12 or by appointment. I'm there much more than that. The museum is open 1 to 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday and Saturday, or by appointment on other days and times. The museum represents what an original townhome might have looked like in the first 5 years of the village, and the tour tells the story of how Park Forest came to be. It's a gem in your midst, and we hope you will come for a visit, that you will bring family and friends. The museum and society are on Facebook and Twitter. Visit those pages and follow them to keep up with our latest news. The Society thanks Village President John Vanderbilt, the Village of Park Forest Board, and Village Manager Tom Mick for once again granting us a matching challenge grant. We're happy to announce today that we have met our $5,000 match, which means we have raised $5,000 from our friends and members. Thank you to all who have helped us to do that. The matching grant truly keeps our doors open. We also thank the Park Forest Public Library Board for donating $1,650 to us, which is a once-a-year donation, which supports the archive office, and are making that available to the public and continuing to preserve it. The archive collection was a library project supported with public funds, which the Society has now taken over management of. It is still partially owned by the library, and we feel is still a library responsibility to help support. And we certainly appreciate the library board giving us that support and vote of confidence. The Park Forest Historical Society currently has a small exhibit of Rich East clothing and memorabilia and some achievements of some of the many alumni through the years. We would like to recognize all Rich East and Rich Township faculty who contributed so much to our community and our youth. We hope residents and visitors will come see the display along with the many things we have in the museum. The Society is currently selling a DVD, Remembering Rich East, which is about 25 minutes of photographs and video, along with some versions of the school songs. It's made up of photographs and video we have had taken inside and outside Rich East in May 2020, and scans of old photographs, brochures, and scrapbook pages from the archive. Copies are available for $20 in the museum or for $24.83 if you're ordering by mail. Your visit to the museum is free with the purchase of the DVD. Again, the Society expresses its appreciation of all Rich Township High School, and particularly Rich East, faculty and staff, and their contributions to our community and our youth.
Welcome. I'm Jonathan Vanderbilt, your mayor for the Village of Park Forest, and we are here to honor and celebrate the 2022 Park Forest Hall of Fame honorees. For this year, we have Margaret Q. Annett and Robert W. Annett, who are involved in a plethora of activities, as well as instrumental in building a church here in Park Forest. Edward Czupryn, Jr., owner of the Park Forest Currency Exchange and Park Forest Business Person of the Year. Alan and Cheryl Warshaw, who were instrumental in the Lions Club early on here in the Village of Park Forest. And lastly, Charlotte and Homer Wolf, who were involved with the education and arts not only in Park Forest, but throughout the south suburbs. Lastly, on behalf of the Village Board and I, we'd like to say congratulations to the nominees for the Park Forest Historical Society 2022. Thank you.
I am presenting the nomination of Robert W. and Margaret Q. Annett, who were nominated by their son, John. Bob and Peggy lived in Park Forest on 3 separate occasions over a 15-year period between 1955 and 1969, during which time Bob traveled and transferred to work between New York and Chicago. Bob and Peggy were born and raised in the Bronx, married in 1951, and learned of Park Forest through William H. White's book, The Organization Man. Bob and Peggy considered Park Forest to be one of the original post-World War II GI towns and their home away from home. Bob and Peggy led and participated in many civic activities over 15 years, including bridge clubs, Little League Baseball, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church groups, Great Books programs, school band, and school PTAs. Peggy was a member of the Park Forest Garden Club for many years. Both Bob and Peggy were active members of the Church of the Holy Family. Peggy was a leader in the once-a-week after-school church program called Tuesday School and served many years on the Altar Guild. Bob was called on to serve on numerous committees at the church. Bob was a World War II veteran serving in the United States Navy between 1943 and 1946 and received 2 medals for his service. Bob graduated from New York University on the GI Bill with a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting in 1950. Peggy graduated from Cornell University, School of Nursing, New York Hospital, with a Bachelor of Science degree in 1948 after attending Barnard College in Manhattan. Peggy served in the United States Cadet Nurse Corps between 1945 and 1948. The United States Cadet Nurse Corps served in World War II between 1943 and 1948 and are the only uniformed corps members from World War II who have yet to be recognized as veterans, despite their vital service to our country. United States Cadet Nurse Corps veteran status is currently pending in the United States Congress under Senate Bill S-1220 and House of Representatives Bill 2568. Although Bob and Peggy were not inaugural pioneers, they were early ones. Bob and Peggy first lived in the rentals at 57 First Street, then a small house at 136 Nashua Street, and finally a larger house at 178 Westwood Drive, next to one of Park Forest's distinctive and unique sidewalk cut-throughs with direct access to Winnebago Park and Central Park. The planners of Park Forest should be commended for the often underrated, wonderful system of sidewalk cut-throughs throughout the village that connected not only the parks, but also all areas of the village, thereby connecting residents. The family lived across the street from noted Chicago Tribune architecture critic Paul Gapp when living on Westwood Drive. Bob commuted to downtown Chicago by taking the Illinois Central Railroad from stations in neighboring Olympia Fields and Madison. Bob could recount taking a bus to and from the rentals along Western Avenue to the 211th Street train station. Bob and Peggy grew up taking public transportation. Peggy could recount when Orchard Drive was extended north to connect with the Lincoln Highway, building 2 roadway underpasses in the process, and when the Jewel grocery store was located in the Park Forest Plaza. Peggy also shopped at Rudy's grocery store on Sauk Trail. Peggy saw then Vice President Richard M. Nixon deliver a speech at the Park Forest Plaza in 1956. And all of these are memories that many Park Foresters discuss on Facebook every week, so I wanted to include lots of those from his presentation. The Annett family belonged to Church of the Holy Family, and Bob and Peggy helped build the larger church building, constructed adjacent to the parish hall, that had been completed in several stages in the early and mid-1950s. Groundbreaking for the larger church was in late 1957. The cornerstone was laid in early 1958. The first service was held on Christmas Eve, 1958, and the church edifice was dedicated in early 1959. The larger Church of the Holy Family was designed by the noted mid-century modern architect Edward Dart and is regarded as one of Dart's finest church commissions. Bob was instrumental in 1958 in insisting that the unfinished basement undercroft beneath the new church be finished and turned into classrooms, which are still used to this day. Bob arranged the bank financing for the church to finish the basement, when others thought the expenditure should be deferred or withdrawn altogether. The 4 Annett children, Bob, Peg, John, and Tom, attended Blackhawk Elementary, Westwood Elementary, Wildwood, Westwood Junior High, and Rich East, receiving extraordinary early educations. Son John learned the Unifon alphabet, invented by noted Park Forest resident John Malone, while attending 2nd grade at Westwood Elementary School in 1967 to 1968. The Unifon alphabet contains 40 symbols and attempts to match each of the sounds of spoken English with a single symbol, and was developed into a teaching aid to help children acquire reading and writing skills. Bob and Peggy were always very thankful for their experiences and times living in Park Forest. Who could forget the larger vision of the village that Bob and Peggy embraced, including the Park Forest Public Library, the Park Forest Aqua Center, and the Park Forest Plaza? How many times did family members go our separate ways when shopping at the Park Forest Plaza, agreeing to meet later under the clock tower? You could always find the Annett family in their court, at a village facility, a park, or a school among neighbors, family, and friends. The family regularly attended the pancake breakfast held every year in Central Park and the Independence Day fireworks. Bob and Peggy were always engaged and always involved with Park Forest activities. The 4 Annett children are also very thankful for their time in Park Forest. They rode their bicycles everywhere, every day, and came home when the street lights came on. The standard of excellence learned in Park Forest by the Annett children has left lifelong impressions on each one. Although Bob, who lived from 1925 to 2017, and Peggy, from 1927 to 2002, are no longer with us, their memories of living in Park Forest lasted them a lifetime. The Park Forest Historical Society Hall of Fame induction will be fitting platinum 70th wedding anniversary memorial gift for Bob and Peggy. And I'm reading the acceptance of Robert W. Annett and Margaret Q. Annett's nomination by their son, John P. Annett. I am excited and honored to accept the nomination of my parents, Robert W. Annett and Margaret Q. Annett, for induction into the Park Forest Historical Society 2022 Hall of Fame. Bob and Peggy proudly called Park Forest home between 1955 and 1969. Thank you for recognizing their contributions to Park Forest during 15 formative and substantive years in the early history of Park Forest over 50 years ago. Although Bob and Peggy are no longer with us, their memories of living in Park Forest lasted them a lifetime. I am sure they are looking down and smiling. Sincerely, John P. Annett.
Good afternoon. My name is Cliff Butts, and I am the retired Chief of Police for the Village of Park Forest. In 1949, the newly formed Village of Park Forest was underway. Stores and shops had opened in the much-advertised plaza, with more coming. One of those stores was Park Forest Barbershop, owned and operated by Peter Fideli. Peter had a daughter, Florence, who had met the love of her life and became engaged. Her fiancé's name was Edward Czupryn. Edward had a good job working in the steel mills, but unfortunately the mills went on strike and Edward needed employment. There was a brand new currency exchange that had also just opened a few stores away from the barbershop, but the two co-owners were looking to sell after having some sort of a business disagreement with themselves. Always the clever businessman, Peter negotiated a $3,000 cash purchase. Edward took over the running of the currency exchange. An agreement was worked out to repay Peter, and the rest is Park Forest history. The first store was in a 200 square foot space. As business improved, the owners of the plaza moved the currency exchange to the other side of the plaza to a 400 foot space, doubling their workplace. In 1984, the currency exchange moved to the West Plaza and the now called Jewel Mall, allowing them to drastically increase their working space once again. 37 years later, they still occupy that space, making them the oldest and longest established business in the village's history and still being run by the Czupryn family. From the beginning, Edward ran the currency exchange. He and Florence married and had two children, Debbie and Eddie Jr. It became apparent from the early days that Eddie Jr. had a business sense about him as he worked the cash register on Saturdays at Grandpa's barbershop at the age of 7. Grandpa Peter had determined the number of haircuts being lost during the time barbers took to check each customer out on a busy Saturday. And Ed Jr. had his first job in the finance world, ringing up the freshly groomed customers and letting the barbers get back to cutting hair. In 1979, after graduating from Eastern Illinois University, Ed Jr. took over the running of the currency exchange as Ed Sr. became semi-retired. The Park Forest Currency Exchange has, for over 72 years, provided a much-needed service to the village's residents, allowing them to pay their phone, gas, electric, and other utility bills. Residents have been able to apply for and renew license plates, update vehicle titles without having to go out of town to the Secretary of State facility. They have been able to cash payroll and personal checks, wire transfer funds to family out of state, have items notarized, and obtain money orders, to name just a few of those provided services. And further, it further provides a safe place for the distribution and cashing of monthly state assistance checks for Park Forest residents, as checks are delivered directly to the currency exchange. Each month, the Park Forest Currency Exchange serves over 1,000 Park Forest residents who walk through the doors at 98 South Orchard. Over those 72 years, the Park Forest Currency Exchange has taken care of its customers, the residents of Park Forest, and on hundreds of occasions protected them from fraud or scammers by knowing customers and knowing when things just didn't seem right. They were assisted, guided to pay in safer ways, and connected with the police when it was necessary. Their insight, especially into the workings of money orders, wire transfers, car titles, and the way illegal money could possibly be moved around, had become invaluable over the years in breaking up several money laundering and drug rings operating within the village. Armed with that knowledge, the police department was able to seize large amounts of money, and through the state asset forfeiture laws, use those funds to purchase computers, squad cars, bulletproof vests, and other items needed, which then saved a burden of those purchases for the taxpayers of the village during budget time each year. Through their active involvement with the Community Currency Exchange Association of Illinois, on whose board directors Eddie Jr. has for many years served, the Czupryns are involved each year with the Back to School Illinois program, which literally builds thousands of school kits that contain pencils, paper, and notebooks and other school supplies that are then given out to students who can't afford to purchase the items. Those kits are then distributed to the various sponsors, to local schools, and also to military families throughout Illinois. The association is one of 4 major sponsors of the program. The association, through Back to School, also gives out 4 $2,500 college scholarships each year. For the past several years, the Park Forest Currency Exchange on its own has purchased 400 kits from the Back to School program and personally distributed those out to the Park Forest area school districts. They have for years been sponsors of numerous youth programs and athletic teams throughout the village. I am honored to nominate the oldest active business in the village's history, the Park Forest Currency Exchange, and its owner, Edward Czupryn Jr., to the Park Forest Hall of Fame. Thank you.
My name is Ed Czupryn, and I'm the owner of Park Forest Currency Exchange in Park Forest, Illinois here. And I am overwhelmed with gratitude to have been selected to receive the Village of Park Forest Hall of Fame Award. I am honored to have my work recognized by Jane and the Park Forest Historical Society. Many years have been dedicated to our business in town, and it means so much to me as well as my family to be part of such a wonderful group of individuals. This accomplishment is something that I was not able to do on my own, though. There are others who deserve to share in this award. I would like to thank Sherry, my general manager, in addition to my staff, and of course my father, Ed Sr. I would also like to thank my wife, Monica, and 2 children, Jennifer and Jessica, for their love as well as their emotional support over the years. Thank you also to our dedicated and loyal consumers for patronizing Park Forest Currency Exchange for over 7 decades. And of course, thank you to Cliff Butts, retired Park Forest Police Chief, for the nomination and his dedicated service to our village for over 30 years. Last but not least, I would like to thank the Park Forest Historical Society. Park Forest will always be a special place in my heart. I will continue to provide essential services to our village and surrounding communities for years to come. I am humbled and appreciative of this award. Thank you.
Alan S. and Cheryl Levinson Warshaw are nominated by the Park Forest Historical Society. I met Alan and Cheryl when they came to the archive in about 2014 to donate records and memorabilia from the Park Forest Lions Club, which had recently been deactivated. Cheryl came back last fall with donations of more scrapbooks on the life of the club, which she had been storing all these years. I was taken by the couple's long dedication to first actively carrying out the mission of the Lions Club, then to working with other members as they struggled to revive and keep the club going, and then to personally preserving the record of the Park Forest Lions Club. Alan joined the club in 1971, and Cheryl worked along with him. She joined herself when women were allowed to join. Her response to being nominated was to ask that the nomination be made in the name of the club. Although the Society has nominated a group of not-for-profits, we don't nominate groups with state or national charters at this time. By nominating this couple, we are recognizing the work of all members of the Park Forest Lions Club and the help that they gave our community. Cheryl's thank you will outline more of what the Lions Club did in the community. Alan, from 1971, was fundamentally involved in one of the early Park Forest residents' best memories, the Lions Club 4th of July Carnival. I understand that he chaired the carnival from 1971 until the village no longer felt it should be held. The carnival then held at Central Park was my husband's and my first date. I'm sure it holds a special place for others through the years. And Cheryl said that she helped with tickets selling, and she helped organize the food, which, if you remember, when it was in Central Park, I think they ran the food concession there at the park stand. Later, after some very expensive damage to grass in Central Park, the carnival was moved to various parking lots in town before it was discontinued. The Lions Club was among the earliest organizations in Park Forest, and I believe the carnival and even a circus were part of their fundraising efforts. They participated in Park Forest parades, so we have pictures of their floats. According to our second president of the society, J. Ron McLeod, they once donated a lion cub to Winston Churchill. What later became Lincolnwood Subdivision was earlier considered by the founder of Lions Club for the building of what he called Liondom, a national or international headquarters for Lions Club. Park Forest ties to the Lions Club were once quite strong. We recognize Alan and Cheryl for their contributions and also recognize all of the people who kept the Lions Club a vital participant in the life of Park Forest over many years. We also thank the Warshaws for preserving the memories of the club and for passing them on to the Historical Society. I am reading Cheryl Warshaw's response to the nomination of Alan and herself. I I'm Cheryl Warshaw, and I lived in Park Forest from 1971 until 1993 for 22 years. My husband, Alan Warshaw, passed away in 2017. We both received so much gratitude for helping others. I am honored and humbled that Alan and I have been selected for induction into the Park Forest Hall of Fame. Alan joined the Park Forest Lions Club in 1971, and that gave him the opportunity to do what he loved, and that was to help others. As his partner in service, I was also doing what I loved. Together, and with other members of the Lions Club, we were able to accomplish so much in the community. Alan was instrumental in chairing the Park Forest July 4th Carnival, which included hiring the amusement company, setting up the tent, and setting off the fireworks for everyone's enjoyment. We were able to get eyeglasses and hearing aids to children and adults in the community, scholarships for college students, supplied special learning devices for low-vision students, acquired a leader dog for a blind individual in the community, and built a ramp for a physically challenged woman in the community. Our 22 years in Park Forest went by very quickly. We raised our 2 children there and enjoyed meeting longtime friends. Again, I am honored and humbled to be selected for induction into the Park Forest Hall of Fame. Thank you.
My name is Marilyn Wolfe Jordan. It is my distinct honor to present my parents, Homer S. Wolfe and Charlotte L. Wolfe, for induction into the Park Forest Historical Society Hall of Fame. I know they would be very honored for this and to be in the company of those already in the Hall of Fame, many of whom were friends of theirs from the beginning days of the village of Park Forest. Homer and Charlotte were born in Chicago. Homer grew up in the Hyde Park and South Shore areas of Chicago, and Charlotte in Schenectady, New York. Homer graduated from the world-renowned Art Institute of Chicago, majoring in commercial art and graphic design. Charlotte graduated from the New York State College for Teachers in Albany, New York. Charlotte moved back to Chicago, where she and Homer met, and they subsequently got married. They moved to Dayton, Ohio, where Homer was in the Army Air Corps, stationed at Wright-Patterson Airfield during World War II. Just as Homer was about to be deployed with his unit to North Africa, it was discovered that he had a spot on his lung, so he was held back to continue his service at Wright-Patterson Field, which was a blessing in disguise, as his entire unit was wiped out in North Africa. The spot on his lung, which saved his life, never progressed and was still there when he died in March 2011 at the age of 97 and a half. Homer and Charlotte became the proud parents of 2 daughters, Alice and Marilyn. After the war, Homer and Charlotte knew they wanted to return to the Chicago area. They researched areas, and when they learned of Park Forest, they realized that that was where they wanted to live with their young family and to be actively involved in the beginnings of the new and progressive community created specifically for young GIs and their families. They moved to Park Forest in November 1948, a few short months after the first families arrived there. Homer and Charlotte quickly became involved in various aspects of the community. Homer hand drew the first official map of Park Forest, which currently hangs in the Park Forest Museum. He also drew the logo for the Park Forest Reporter newspaper, as well as the illustrations in the paper. He drew the cover for the Park Forest Story, a booklet created by the Park Forest League of Women Voters about the history of how the village came to be and what it had to offer. Homer used his artistic and graphic expertise for whatever was needed in those early days. Professionally, he later designed and drew by hand, not by computer, as is the norm nowadays, many well-known logos. Some of the most famous included Maytag, Sealy, and Culligan Water, which are still used today. Homer was actively involved with the Park Forest Board of Jewish Education, beginning in its early days and continuing, encompassing its organization, services, and religious school. Charlotte became actively involved in Park Forest in areas for which she had developed passions in college, those being education, politics, and theater. Having a degree in teaching and it being important to her as the mother of 2 young children, she became involved with the organizing of education and schools for the village. In later years, after moving to nearby Homewood, Charlotte was elected as the secretary of the first Board of Education that formed the new Homewood Flossmoor District 233 and built the new high school. After her children were grown, she had a teaching career for 25 years. In the early years, Charlotte became involved in the Park Forest League of Women Voters. From the experience and knowledge Charlotte gained in those early years working with the Park Forest League, she later went on to be elected to serve as the president of the Homewood League of Women Voters. Charlotte enjoyed being actively involved in the early days of the Park Forest Playhouse and the Children's Community Theater. She also served as the fundraising chair for the PBS WTTW Startup Fundraising Campaign. Homer and Charlotte volunteered and helped with various committees whenever needed and in whatever capacity in those early years of Park Forest. Even after they moved to Homewood, they stayed involved in the Park Forest community, activities, and with the people. After their daughters were grown and living in other areas of the country, Homer and Charlotte relocated to Littleton, Colorado, where I, their younger daughter, lived. They enjoyed being close to and involved with their 4 grandchildren there. They also enjoyed frequent visits to and from their older daughter and 2 grandchildren who lived in Oregon. They made periodic visits back to the Homewood Flossmoor Park Forest area, visiting family and old friends with whom they had remained close and connected from those early days in Park Forest, a place so dear to their hearts. They remained in Colorado until Charlotte's death in 2003 and Homer's death in 2011. I would like to thank the Park Forest Historical Society for honoring my parents in this way. On behalf of my sister and myself, our children, and our grandchildren, it is with great pleasure and enormous pride that I accept the induction of Homer S. Wolf and Charlotte L. Wolf into the Park Forest Hall of Fame. Thank you.
We thank all of the members of our induction class for 2022 for the wonderful things they did to make Park Forest a special place to live. Booklets with information on the Society and on our 2022 inductees will be printed and will be made available on our website. Print copies will be available at Village Hall lobby and at the archive and the museum office. Nominations for the Hall of Fame are accepted from the public from October 1st through December 31st each year on a required form provided by the Society with supporting documentation. Guidelines and the forms are on our website. For more information, you can contact me via email on the website. Again, that is www.parkforesthistory.org. It's up to you to get people nominated so we can induct them into the Hall of Fame. Look to your left and look to your right. Someone you know should be nominated next year. Thank you for watching.